Hey guys, welcome to another Friday Big Byte. Happy to see you guys here or be seen by you. Thanks for hanging out. Hey Katrina, hey Aaron, hey Jess. Everyone's mom is here. So, mom, maybe it's a good time to have a frank conversation. Um, and we thought that would be a really good idea for today's Big Byte. There's pretty clearly something going on, right? And hopefully you can hear me as I'm saying this. Who knows? It seems like you can. Hi, Cindy. So, we just wanted to be pretty direct. Like, we know there's a lot we have to learn as a company. There's a lot we have to learn as individuals. But at the same time, it's important that, we still do whatever we can to help, learn and share and educate. So we thought that today we would take, this Friday Big Bite to focus on something that's really important and really more important than anything else we could be talking about right now. So we have a lot of links that we're going to share. They're all in the spirit of the day and the week and the moment and the zeitgeist, which is Black Lives Matter. So I think Jake was actually going to get us started, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, I've been collecting several related links, not necessarily for Big Byte, just kind of things that were good resources, things that I wanted to come back to, but they all kind of ended up being in this digital realm just because, that's one of the best tools that we have on hand. We saw it when we went remote, like all the things that you can do and the ways that you can stay connected. So, we're going to try to stay in the vein of highlighting, technology through this lens of Black Lives Matter. So the first thing that I found is how to protest safely in the age of surveillance. And this is really important, right? Because it's not only our safety, but it's safety of people that could be potentially more vulnerable. So the one thing to consider is like maybe you don't even bring your smartphone. I've seen a lot of things that are saying like if you don't need your phone, write down the number of like a bail fund or something on your arm and then just go without it. Apparently, police can intercept text messages. If you do end up getting arrested, they can just go through your phone depending on, whether you have facial recognition or thumbprint recognition or a passcode. You may, be forced to open it up for them. And, you just don't want to put yourself at risk if you don't need to, if you're not using it to coordinate things or to contact people or take photos. In that vein, minimize your risk of surveillance as well. If you are taking photos, try not to take pictures or post them on social media of people where their faces are recognizable. You've seen those posts going around like, let's find this guy. Like, no, maybe let's not, but we don't want to ever, have something on social media or even on your phone if it gets taken that could potentially identify someone or have some sort of like timestamp or anything like that. I'm also seeing that just with facial recognition, they can try to recognize you. So there's like face paint that you can do to kind of like deter facial recognition. If you have tattoos, cover them up. Don't wear, bright colors. Just wear, like plain colored, dark, black, gray, things like that, just so that you're not, easily identifiable to people. I'm seeing questions. What
Yeah, what about a
about getting
burner?
a burner? People are recommending that. The less connected the type of phone it can be, the better. So if it's like a simple, it just makes phone calls, that's probably the best. But again, consider why you'd need a phone and if there's any other way that you can do that type of communication going out. There's also ways that you can make like a Faraday backpack that like no signals can get in or out, but you can still keep your phone on you, or try to put it into airplane mode or things like that.
And
So
obviously, what
definitely
we're
some good
advocating here
resources
is,
in
is
here.
safety. We're advocating your own personal rights and safety. And there's lots of ways to do that. Even Rob and I use a text message service called Signal. It's an app, and it's incredibly secure. So if you're looking for an extra layer of security, to protect your privacy and your own rights, then certainly would endorse Signal as an app that's free.
Moving on, this is something you may have seen this as well. Maybe it was on Instagram, but it basically this is an Instagram story and it's saying, swipe up and you'll automatically be taken to like this filled out email template to email the police department, to ask them. This was a few days ago. to up the charges and get George Floyd's killer arrested. So if you swipe up here, it happens super fast, but you'll see that it's opening my email client, and then it has this pre-filled, to the police department. Hi, my name is name. It's got this whole template, and then all you have to do is like fill out your stuff and hit send. And this is super easy. They created a Bitly for it. You can post these links, like it is here on an Instagram story. So this is just a really interesting way. This is using what we call a mail to link, which has existed forever. And it was just a really innovative way, in my opinion, to use this technology, like to kind of blend the old ways that we know how links work with, Instagram stories and what you can do if you've got an account that'll let you add a link. And, if your email is hipslikeya@gmail.com, it'll fill that right in for you. So that's super helpful.
Yeah, that is a
Um,
nice example though of how something like a mail to link, which is like one of the OG like links from the internet, the interwebs, how just a little bit of graceful UX can make that a really impactful thing, you know.
mhm. It actually, the email ended up bouncing back a few days later, all
Of
these
course.
different emails that I had sent. So it seems like it worked because they probably got flooded with a ton of emails and probably turned off, the deliverability, or turned off the mailboxes.
Aaron was
I would
afraid you
never
were going
say,
to say don't do it.
don't do this, Aaron. No, and it's too like a great user experience, right? We're trying to remove the different barriers. And even if we say, copy this text and send it to these email addresses, you're still like, okay, I got to open the app, then go back and then copy this and copy that. It's a lot of steps. I'd rather just swipe up. Typing my name in even was difficult. So that was
Right.
a lot of hard steps here. Now we're moving on to the social media hashtag portion of my share. Many of you saw this whole Blackout Tuesday thing that was happening. Um,
Yep.
and in the morning, it seemed like maybe like a really good idea. You didn't know what it was. Maybe you did. I myself posted a square at one time or another. And then all these people started coming out being like, don't use hashtag Black Lives Matter with it. Use the hashtag Blackout Tuesday. Some people were saying like, this, it doesn't really make any sense. It's drowning out the information that was in the Black Lives Matter hashtag. And so now it's basically spamming the hashtag. The hashtag became unusable. And it just wasn't clear when the initiative was, who it was for, and how to accomplish it. So there, maybe the understanding of how the user experience or how people were going to use this. It was clear they had wanted you to use Blackout Tuesday, but they didn't really say like don't use Black Lives Matter. And even then, people, you might not have seen the original initiative.
Yeah, I think that's a really it's a really interesting kind of thing that happened, and I don't think there was ill intent from all these people so much as this is just again a good reminder of having an understanding of the entire picture and being educated before you dive into advocacy necessarily. The hashtags are being used with very deliberate purpose right now as real time communication efforts for people who are boots on the ground in the movement. And advocacy is awesome, but when advocacy is sort of relegated to just what we're doing on our screens, and what we're posting on our own channels, that's a lesser form, I'll say, of advocacy than someone who's there, using their legal rights, in a peaceful protest way. So again, it's not that anybody meant to cause harm, but it's a good explanation of how even inadvertently you can be trying to help and still find ways to be unhelpful, right? So I think the underscore there is just be thinking twice before you're posting, to your own handles, especially if you're going to be co-opting, hashtags, and make sure you understand what they're being used for. But it's just a great educational opportunity. We had this discussion as an agency. Were we going to do this? And I'll tell you, we went back and forth a few times before we decided not to. And I'm glad that we were thoughtful enough to wait a moment. And there's nothing wrong with waiting. If you notice, we haven't done much on Partner Social this week. It's because we aren't really qualified to have a lot to say. Individually, we all are allowed to say whatever we want, but as a business, we aren't necessarily in the right place or position to be speaking effectively to that. Yes, great point, Elaine. Good intention, bad execution. Exactly. but good intentions. Somebody said, they're paving the road to hell, right? So
Yeah, Kelly is bringing up a good point in the chat about,
yes,
changing your Twitter handle that way when people are searching like BLM, they're just getting your dumb Twitter account and not, real helpful ones.
yeah. Thank you,
But
Kelly. That's a
speaking of
great point.
drowning out the search, you may have seen White Lives Matter trending recently and been like, great, I hate humanity. But really, what was happening, and this has happened multiple times in the past, and especially recently, from K-pop fans who, as we know, are a very passionate group of fans. And what they were doing is they were just posting K-pop and support for Black Lives Matter, and got, just like the army of fans actually call themselves like some of the fans like army, to drown out these kind of hateful negative hashtags. So, these other groups that are trying to then organize were unable to do so, because anytime you went to that hashtag, all you would see is just like K-pop and K-pop stars and just Black Lives Matter, and they were just posting over and over all day, just drowning out these hashtags. And um, it just goes to show, with a community that understands the way this stuff works, like it can be super powerful and it can be used for good or for bad, or for kind of like this like in between funny. It sucks that we had to do this, but here's my favorite K-pop stars type of way. And we've seen this in the past too. I think we've shared a while ago that this tactic has been done for people who are being like bullied. If there's an account that's receiving a lot of like negative comments or hate, you can spam that account or that search term or whatever with positivity, so that when that person goes back, they're not bombarded with these negative messages. So there's two sides to trying to spam out a hashtag and making sure that we're using that appropriately.
Me too, Aaron. It makes me happy too.
Nothing makes me happier than when fandoms do the right thing.
Especially when it intersects with T Swift, like that's got to be so deeply fulfilling for you, Jake.
It does. It's really telling what's happening now, that when I'm scrolling on Twitter, anytime I see like a Taylor Swift fan page, like, look what Taylor wore 2 years ago, I'm annoyed. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to see this anymore. So that's where I'm at. Angry now. So I don't
All
even
right.
want to see Taylor Swift unprompted. Another thing that I found on Twitter, which is a really great way to connect, is this guy from a company, Webflow, just kind of posted asking, hey, anyone in engineering willing to mentor Black and Brown people, feel free to comment. It got 1.4 thousand retweets, 2.8 thousand likes. And he ended up basically saying, like, oh, there was one also for marketing execs that someone else had started a list. He basically said, like, there are so many people doing this that the company he works for now has had to like construct this whole internal team to figure out how this is going to work. So I think it's kind of still in the works, but certainly you can scroll through these types of threads and see people who are willing to mentor, who say they have their DMs open. Um, and I think this is something, the spirit that we can get into as well, just in terms of, you might feel helpless, like, what can I do as like a developer or an art director or UX designer, aside from either being on the front lines and maybe just trying to like argue with your uncle on Facebook or something. Like, what can you do? But you can help in this way as well, and you can use what are your strengths and what you're comfortable doing right now, to kind of lend out a hand and help. And David actually had a really good share that might kind of help us figure out a way to get connected to people in that community. So David, you wanted to talk about that?
Yes. So here we're seeing the portfolio site of a Black designer at RIT. He's actually graduating this year, and he's going to be a product designer at Instagram. And one thing that he does is some side projects. And one project that is in this vein is blacks2design.com. So it's a project that promotes diversity in the design community. And what it is essentially a Twitter directory of Blacks Who Design. So it's highlighting all the Black designers in the design industry. And it's sort of meant to inspire new designers, encourage people to diversify their feeds, and really discover just like these amazing individuals, and potentially, like connect or mentor via this like communication tool. So if you're a Black designer, like that site's for you. It's great for designers all across the industry. But if you're not a Black designer, it's also for you too. It's for ways to reply to a recruiter. You can reply with a link to the site. If, say, like a recruiter reaches out to you and you're tired of recruiting emails, maybe you share this link with them and they can find a Black designer. If you're looking to target your mentoring, you can dedicate your lunch breaks to mentoring people that might not normally get access to you. Or you can volunteer and consider blocking off some time to teach design to younger
David, you
students.
can do them. You can offer or sign up for the mentoring directly through this same Blacks Who Design site.
No, but you can reach out and
Okay.
you can connect with others.
This is
So
an
you know,
awesome, awesome experience. This is such a thoughtful and important thing. This is great.
yeah, on the left you can see that the filters by CEOs, founders, um, illustrators, freelancers, all of that. And then if you go into their about page, they also have additional links that relate to the Black design community. But super helpful, very nice to resource to have if you're looking to connect with Black suit design.
Yeah, I see a lot of posts on Twitter, especially recently, of, hey, I've just been laid off. Hey, now I'm looking for work. Here's where I worked in the past. Reach out. And a lot of this, like kind of grassroots recruiting, ends up happening on Twitter. I think when it was like that, we had some sort of like speaker panel on like diversity in advertising. I don't remember what it was, but it was hosted. We hosted that one for Rochester Ad Week, and one of the things that one of the panelists had said was like, where can I start? Where can I reach out? And they're like, Twitter. Start on Twitter. So if you feel like your Twitter circle isn't where you want it to be and who you're following, like you don't have to reach out to these people immediately or try anything like that, but find people whose work you're like, man, if they were ever available or if they ever wanted to chat, I would love to work more with them and follow, some of these voices. That way, if they ever are looking for an opportunity there or they are posting more work, you can stay up to date with that as well. All right, Andy,
Yeah.
floor is yours.
So if anybody's familiar with Ben and Jerry's, they make really good ice cream. If you aren't familiar with them, on top of that, they're also known for being a brand that's at the forefront of these difficult conversations, and they're not afraid to double down and to assert what they're about. And there's this kind of undercurrent right now that silence is complicity, which is a real tightrope, right? But what they're saying is silence is not an option, for anyone, whether you're white, black, whatever. And ultimately, they were in support of this Black Lives Matter movement from the time it really kind of first sprung about, and they'd had stuff to say at the time, and now they followed up with that, and they're saying, look, here's like 3 or 4 things you can actually do, like legitimately you can actually do, to enact change, and it's what they're calling for. So obviously they're calling first for all elected officials and politicians to commit to a formal process of healing and reconciliation, instead of calling for aggressive force and tactics. Second, they're calling upon Congress to pass H.R. 40, which is legislation that would create a commission to study the effects of slavery and discrimination from 1619 all the way to now. And third, they're saying, look, we have to support the literal victim that started this movement in this past week, and we have to support George Floyd's family. And they've called to create a national task force that would draft legislation brought together from both sides, both Democrats and Republicans, aimed at ending racial violence and increasing police accountability. So they're really putting their money where their mouth is, and it's just nice to see a brand not be afraid to step into the conversation and to have a real perspective. We get it, right? We're all in this business. We understand, the safe things that brands are going to do to, make sure that they're aligned with what's going on, but not, they don't want to ruffle any feathers. Well, Ben and Jerry's is all about ruffling feathers, and I personally respect that. And it's not the only reason I love Ben and Jerry's. Clearly, I love Ben and Jerry's for a lot of reasons. Uh, yes, exactly, Aaron. Thank you. So you can eat your super fudge chunk without worrying about who you're supporting. That's a great way to put it. So I'm just a huge, huge fan of any brand that's willing to, speak truth to power and not be afraid to do that. And if there are any sort of repercussions on that, they're ultimately good, in my opinion. Anybody who doesn't want to be on the right side of history, then they can be wherever else they think they should be. So I'll leave it at that. I could go on a soapbox about some of that. The other thing I wanted to share, it's really basic, but it's maybe like the most important thing here, right? Absentee voting. We don't know exactly what's going on with COVID or exactly, exactly when we're gonna be able to get back to normalcy and how the voting process is gonna unfold. We've seen primaries get scuttled. The one way you can absolutely ensure that your voice is heard, we did a whole campaign about this, right? The vote needs you. You have to vote for your opinion to actually count in a meaningful way from a legislative perspective. So this is how you get an absentee ballot. We're going to share, these links here, but you have to apply for an absentee ballot. And if you haven't done this already, the time is nigh, because they're already saying, you may have heard all the discourse last night about adding more Board of Elections officials to Monroe County because there are not enough people to help service this need right now. And every additional request is going to tax them and stress them even more. But if you haven't figured out how exactly you're going to vote yet, you got to do it now. Don't do it tomorrow. Do it today. Take your lunch break, and please just figure out how you're going to vote, and make sure you do that when the time comes. So those were my 2 shares for the day. Yeah.
Aaron would like people to know that more people did not vote than did in 2016.
Yeah, we have to change that. We have to reverse that. That's so important that we use one of our most fundamental rights. We are enfranchised to vote. And that is something that no one can take away, at least not yet, I hope. And it's something that we have to do. Yes, we'll absolutely share this link in the chat. No worries.
Cool. Well, I'm going to share a couple links here. One is from Bon Appetit, obviously a really reputable, if not just for their content creation and their recipes. Here they are saying the right thing and promoting people to take an actionable, stand in solidarity with the Black community. Here is probably the best aggregated list of Black-owned restaurants in the nation. And I was scrolling, and I was like, no way they have, Rochester, New York, sure do.
There you go.
They have a Google spreadsheet. I haven't clicked through to it. Let's journey this together. Beautiful, look at that. So, pretty fleshed out. And I know Gretchen and Isabel shared bobrochester.com, which I forwarded onto this thread here, specific actions to support in our Black community. This actually, 8 Can't Wait, has come under a lot of scrutiny from a lot of activists in the movement. So as with everything in Reddit, take this with a grain of salt. There's a lot of good information in here. And this is all specific to our Rochester community. And then the last link I wanted to share was Blacks in Technology. This is an organization that's looking to increase the representation and increase the participation of Black people in technological related fields. So that's us, if I needed to spell that out for you. It's a really good website. There's a lot of good seminars and pretty up to date. So I think this is a good place. And then there's also like a job search function of this website too. So you can, if you know Black people, have them with technological skills, have them maybe reach out here at blacksintechnology.net. It's a good resource.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's about all I got today.
I think Rob's got something.
I swear to God, they're mowing the lawn outside. Every time I move, they move to that window. So I apologize in advance because this is going to be loud and not all right. But anyway, just a quick chat is a lot of people are obviously wondering how can they support Black Lives Matter. Financially is one of the best ways, of course, aside from going to the actual protests. But with COVID and everything else, and a lot of people having money problems, that kind of becomes an issue. So we found this really cool thing where this group is actually putting out a whole bunch of videos that have collections of Black music, art, poetry, etc. And all of the ad revenue for each of those videos is actually being donated to Black Lives Matter, which is such a cool idea because this is something that you guys can actually just throw on while you're working, listen to a bunch of really, really good stuff, and at the same time, you're supporting the entire movement while you're actually just doing something else. So definitely something really, really cool. As you can see, this one, they're saying this is the first in a series, but this one's an hour long. You've got people just talking, telling you about their feelings, etc. You've got cool art. You've got really good music as well. And it's just a really, really neat way to kind of get insight into the community and whatnot. And another place where this is also happening is on Twitch, which mostly we know for gaming, of course. So here is a team called Black Girl Gamers, which are just a whole bunch of really, really cool kids playing games, etc. So this is another place where you can actually go, and if you do happen to have some money or whatnot, then you can also donate to them, or you can subscribe to their feeds. And in doing so, you're also supporting the movement as well. It's also fun to watch them play, just because it's a lot of fun. But also, though, moving a little bit forward and away from the video game area, as the fact that Twitch also has, oh my God, I'm so sorry about the lawnmowers. Anyway, Twitch also has an area called Just Chatting, which is basically people talking, telling you whatever. It can be talks about anything. But this is a really, really good place to come and listen and hear from the actual people that this is all affecting, like how they feel about it, why they feel that way. This is day 3 education in Black Lives Matter from this particular streamer. And it's a really great way to actually communicate because you can type in and you can interact with them, ask them questions. But this is not the only place where this is happening. You can look on YouTube, you can look on Twitter, Facebook Live, I'm sure also has a whole bunch of stuff. But there are a lot of people out there that are willing to share their voice, and a lot of us want to listen but don't necessarily know exactly like the best way to get there. So this is just a good insight into how you can actually do that, and 2 cool ways to support the movement while also entertaining yourself.
That is really cool. That's awesome. Oh, thanks, Cindy. Cindy just shared a bunch of handles in the chat. That's awesome. So those are handles of Black vegan bloggers, vloggers, and cookbook authors. So that's really cool.
Nice.
And can I share this YouTube with this YouTube or the one? Rob, can you share that link, the YouTube link that you just shared in the chat?
Absolutely.
I think that's what
can.
you mean.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, Aaron? Is the YouTube link Rob just shared? So hopefully that's what you mean.
Yep. Well, and there are more than just that one too.
Yeah.
So we'll try to like build on a list as more come out, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll try to we will commit to making an update today. We'll post in the Big Byte thread and share all these links and give some context for you. So I think that's the links we had for today, right? I mean, they never end. We could keep sharing forever. But what's really important is that we all keep sharing, you know? So thank you guys for sharing today with us. Thanks, you know, digital team, obviously, the experienced crew for gathering some of this stuff pretty quickly. You keep answering. I know I can't hear you, Aaron, but you keep talking at the computer and see what happens. So yeah, just thanks again. Thanks for letting us take a moment, you know, to share something that we felt was really important to be talking about. And you know, in candor, we should have been talking about it sooner and all along and more consistently. So that's something we're going to commit to you guys, is that we're going to make sure we're more balanced and thoughtful, you know, in the way we try to represent things. We understand, you know, the one-sided perspective we sort of come from right now. So we're going to do our best to continue to make improvements there. So thank you guys for hanging out with us this morning. This was hopefully some feel-good stuff in a week that's been pretty tough for a lot of us, but really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please feel free to subscribe. Once we get to 100 subscribers, you can just go straight to youtube.com/partners and Napier and won't have to have all the weird links. But yeah, so we're really grateful, that you guys are taking this moment to share and chat and hang out with us, and we're committed to continue doing that with you guys. So that's it. Yeah, much love. See you guys next week, but some of you will probably see much sooner. Bye.
Yeah.